All right. Hi, guys. This is Hannah Martin, and I am the host of Turning Two Tunes. This is the very first program that I'm going to be having on KZUU. I'm so happy to be here. So, if you don't know what turning two means, it is a baseball term, and it means to turn a double play, which is when you get two outs on the same play. So you probably guessed I'll be talking about baseball on this show, and I'm going to be also playing some really great country music. So the way the show is going to work is we are going to be playing some music. So I'll play about 3 songs, and then I will come back on the air, and we're going to talk some baseball. I've got a really excited schedule for you today. We're going to talk about the Mariners, the wild card race in the AL. We're going to talk about the Red Sox because that's my favorite team. We're also going to talk about the Yankees, and it's going to be really exciting. I'm really excited for it. So I hope you guys are. Once again, Hannah Martin, and this is Turning Two Tunes. All right, guys. So those are 3 of some of my favorite songs. So the 3 last songs we had were Fight Like a Girl by Callie Shore, Blue Tacoma by Russell Dickerson. You might know him. He had a big hit called Yours. I also love that song a lot. And then we had Something's Gotta Give by Christian Kane, who was actually on the hit TV show Leverage, if you've ever watched that. I know me and my fam really loved it when I was younger. So he was on that show, and then he started a country career, and I'm loving it a lot. So the first segment we're going to have on the show, and this is going to be a regular segment, it's called Is It Our Year? And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the Mariners, of course. So if you grew up in the Pacific Northwest, I'm sure you've heard it. The call of all the Mariners fans in this area is the Seminole Classic, This Is Our Year to make it to the World Series. And if you know anything about the Mariners, you will know that they're celebrating their 40th anniversary this year, and they are one of 2 major league teams who has never made it to the World Series, and they have not made it to the playoffs since 2001, but it doesn't matter to Mariners fans. Every year they come back. They're saying they start in March, and they go all the way through, kind of August when it sets in that maybe this isn't their year, but they're resilient, and I love the Mariners fans. So, is it our year? We're going to answer that question right now. So the first thing I want to talk about the Mariners is when you look at this team, you have to consider the injuries on the team. You had Iwakuma go down at the start of the year with that shoulder injury. The Mariners were hopeful he was going to come back and pitch some games in August and September, but it's not looking good. You had James Paxton, obviously, the Big Maple, as the Mariners fans call him, the Maple Grove they have now at Safeco, where all the Paxton fans sit when he's pitching, and they have a tree that they actually bring up there into the seats, and they call him the Big Maple because he's from Canada. I love Mariners fans. And he went down on August 10th with that pectoral strain. He did throw a bullpen yesterday, so they're hoping he can come back and throw a couple of games for him at the end of September, because he was pitching amazing. I mean, he was phenomenal. He was the ace of that staff until he went down. And then obviously your ace, Felix Hernandez, he has that shoulder injury too that's been bugging him. He be back on September 13th, but once again, you're looking at limited pitches from him, and you're really wondering, can he be that ace? Can he be that Cy Young Award winner again? Or is that responsibility going to fall on Paxton, who has a lot of injuries, and he's had a lot of injuries in the past? So it's a mess. It really is. And then you had Mitch Haniger, who one of my best friend's boyfriends was telling me that he was going to be the rookie of the year at the beginning of the year, and he's missed a lot of games. He's had injury after injury, it seems. He's had that hand thing when he tried to get that bunt down, and he fractured one of his fingers. He did something to his finger. And then he got hit in the face when they were playing the Mets, and then he was out, and he had some injury earlier in the season. So every time I turn around, he's hurt. But he was really playing well for them early in the season. And that's the thing with a lot of these guys, is they were pitching well, and then they hit the shelf, and you're left with, not such a great rotation. It's not a good look for the Mariners as you're trying to make that push for the playoffs. And another thing that I thought was interesting is you look where the Mariners are now, and they're 2.5 games out of that second wild card spot. We'll talk about the AL wild card. It's a logjam. It's a mess. It's like everybody's there. Everybody's within 4 or 5 games of that one remaining spot. But you look at how the Mariners have played against teams in their division, and that's what you always talk about when you're coming down to September and October is how your team has played against other teams in their division. So against the Houston Astros, who have been running away with this division since early May. I mean, my goodness, they have like a 15-game lead or something. It's ridiculous. They've played 5-8 ball against the Houston Astros. So they 5 wins, 8 losses over the season. Now, with a team who, is leading the division by 15 games or so, you take that. You say, all right, we're going to play 5-8 ball, but we're going to do really well against all the other teams in our division. And you look at the AL West, and you have the Angels, you have the Rangers, and you have Oakland in that division. Those are teams, if you want to compete, you got to be able to play at least 500 ball against those teams. And what have they done? They've played the Angels. This is the real problem, folks. They have played the Angels, and they only have 4 wins and 9 losses against the Angels. That's the problem spot. If they had played 500 baseball, because you look up in that AL wildcard, and who's in front of the Mariners? The Angels. If they play 500 ball against the Angels, they're in that wildcard spot. They're 2.5 games out. They win those 5 games. They're in that second wildcard spot. And then you look at, they played Texas really well. They played Texas, 8-4 record against Texas, 9-6 against Oakland. If they'd done that against the Angels, it's a different conversation that we're having right now. I really think so. And so let's put on our thinking caps, and let's say, all right, the Mariners miraculously, they go on this super hot run in September. They do really well. They go for, they win 13 out of 15. They're hot. They're on that hot streak. And they get that second wild card spot. So who are you looking at playing? In my opinion, you're either going to play the Red Sox or you're going to play the Yankees in that 1-game wild card. It's probably going to be the Yankees because I don't see the Red Sox having another 2011 September where they just implode on themselves. So you're going to play the Yankees in New York. And who's going to be your ace? Who's pitching? The Yankees have, as much as it pains me to admit, they've got a whole selection of pitchers they can throw at you. They just got Sonny Gray. They might pitch Tanaka. Tanaka pitched phenomenally against the Red Sox yesterday. Don't know where that came from. They got Jaime Garcia, probably not going to be their option, but they got him. And then, of course, they have Luis Severino, who has pitched really well all season. So they have a whole stretch of guys that they can throw at you. The Mariners, is Felix Hernandez going to be able to pitch that 1-game playoff? He's never been to the playoffs before. That's important to consider. He's going to be on limited pitches, so how deep is he going to be able to go into the game? Is it going to be Paxton? Is he going to be healthy enough? He's probably also going to be on limited pitches. So then you look at the bullpen. And is that bullpen going to be strong enough to compete with the Yankee bullpen? Spoiler alert, no, it's not, because the Yankee bullpen from the 6th inning on is phenomenal, except for Chapman. Red Sox basically, they ruined Chapman, but that'll be a conversation later in the show. But, I mean, the Yankees, it's just great pitcher after great pitcher in that bullpen. You got Adam Warren. You got Tommy, the guy they just acquired from the White Sox. I'm blanking on the last name. David Robertson. They have Dylan Betances. I mean, and then you look at the Mariners, and you're like, all right, Edwin Diaz gives me a heart attack every time he's going to go out and try and close a game. And it's hard to imagine a scenario where the Mariners, let alone get into that wild card spot and then go into New York in this 1-game playoff and take that game from the Yankees. And then even if they do get that, somehow they beat the Yankees in that 1-game playoff, who are they going to play? They're going to play the Astros, who they have a 5-8 record against in a long series. The pitching staff just isn't there. So we'll see. We'll see in the coming weeks. We will be talking about this again. You know me. We are going to see what happens with Paxton and that injury. We're going to see what happens with Felix and that injury. And then we will revisit this situation and see what's going on with the Mariners. But for now, is it our year? I'm going to have to say no. I'm sorry. I don't want to break hearts out there, but I'm going to say no, it's not our year this year. All right, guys. So we are going to go right back into some great music. We got Woke Up in Nashville by Seth Ennis. I love this song. So I hope you do too. Here we go. All right, guys, we are back on the air. So those last 3 songs there, we had Woke Up in Nashville by Seth Ennis. Wasn't that a beautiful song? I told you guys, I love that song so much. And then we had Inevitable by Maggie Rose, who has a great catalog. I'll definitely be playing more of her stuff in the coming weeks, and you guys should definitely check it out. And then we had Just Long Enough by Steve Mogler, who is one of my very favorite new artists. He is tremendous. His debut album, Steel Town, is out now, and I love it. Like every song in that album, I just love. So the next segment that we are going to do here is a segment that came up with on the fly. It's called Hannah Proves Zach Wrong. Now, Zach is my brother. He's 14, and he is a diehard Yankees fan, where I am a diehard Red Sox fan. And the Red Sox and the Yankees are both in the AL East, and so they play each other 19 times a year. So things get very interesting around the Martin household 19 times a year. Now, Zach thinks that the Red Sox ace, Chris Sale, should not win the Cy Young Award for the American League this year. Now, the Cy Young Award, if you don't know, it goes to the best pitcher. There's one for the American League and there's one for the National League. And he thinks that Chris Sale, who is the ace for the Red Sox, is their best pitcher this year. He thinks that the award should not go to Chris Sale. And this gives me a migraine because I've heard this talk not only from my brother, but also on other baseball talk shows. And it's baffling to me. And so the rebuttal to this, that Chris Sale should not win the Cy Young Award, is that there are other better players out there who should win. So let's take a look at them. So first, Chris Sale. Let's look at his numbers. Chris Sale, he's got 15 wins on the season, which leads the league, the American League there. He's got an ERA of 2.77, which is second best in the American League. He's pitched 185 and 1/3 innings. He has 264 strikeouts, and you can bet that's league leading. He's got a WHIP, which is walks plus hits divided by innings pitched. He's got a WHIP of .91, which is really, really good. He's got a batting average against of 197, so that is under 200 there. That's also, you guessed it, really good. So Corey Kluber is a name that comes up quite frequently when we're talking about Cy Young. He infamously beat out Felix Hernandez, the Mariners ace, for the Cy Young a couple years ago, and I know some Mariners fans are still definitely salty about that. And so Corey Kluber, he's got 14 wins this year, so one less than Chris Sale. The only category that Corey Kluber has a leg up on Chris Sale is that ERA. He has a 2.56 ERA to Chris Sale's 2.77. He's pitched 24 games, 168 and 2/3 innings. He's got a WHIP of 1.1 and a batting average against of 233. And he did miss, so those 3 games, he missed about a month there with a shoulder injury, I believe. So we'll talk about that. The other name that comes up is Luis Severino, the ace for the Yankees, who we talked about a little bit earlier in the show there. He has 11 wins, a 3.14 ERA. He's pitched in 26 games. He's got 163 and 1/3 innings pitched. He has the same ERA as Corey Kluber with 1.1, and he's got a 236 batting average against. So he leads in no categories, but, he's a Yankee, so of course we've got to throw him in there. So one of the arguments against Chris Sale is that he doesn't have good numbers against good teams. Like, he can only beat bad teams. He can only beat the Rays or the Blue Jays or the White Sox. He actually did pretty poorly against his old team, the White Sox, but, So the Astros, who lead the American League West, we talked about that earlier in the show, he does not have any appearances against the Astros. And against the Yankees, of course, they play each other 19 times a year, so he's going to get some innings pitched there. Against the Yankees, Chris Sale's numbers, he's got 29 and 2/3 innings, and he's only given up 7 runs. Let me repeat that. He's pitched almost 30 innings, and he's only given up 7 runs, and 4 of those came in one game. So, I mean, we're talking, he's got at least 2 shutouts in there. It's not even a topic of discussion. He's really good against the Yankees. But he doesn't have any wins because, apparently the offense thinks that when Chris Sale is pitching, they don't have to give him any run support, which isn't great. So he doesn't get those wins, but he's got the numbers to back it up. And so when you look at this, to me, there's only one category that Chris Sale doesn't beat Corey Kluber in. It's not a discussion. Like Chris Sale, if you watch Chris Sale pitch, which I have, I've watched Chris Sale pitch all season. He came over from the White Sox in that, that big blockbuster trade in the offseason. Yoan Moncada, the Red Sox number one prospect, the number one prospect in baseball. He went to the White Sox with a couple of other minor league players in a package, and the Red Sox got Chris Sale back. And as a Red Sox fan, I can't tell you how happy that trade makes me. I watched Yoan Moncada. He came up a little bit from AAA last season. Can't hit anything off speed. Can't hit the curveball, slider. It's fastball, great fastball hitter, but pitchers are going to figure that out. And then you look what he's done with the White Sox, and it's been okay. And then you look what Chris Sale has done with the Red Sox, and my goodness, how can you not say he's the Cy Young? Like that's my question here. This is what, Rick Porcello, who is also a Red Sox pitcher, he won the Cy Young last year. And he had, I want to say, around that 3.14 ERA last year. And Corey Kluber, he wins. If he has these numbers last year, he wins. He didn't do so great last year. Severino, he has these numbers. He wins last year. But this is not last year. This is this year. And Chris Sale is here to play. And Chris Sale, in my humble opinion, is the Cy Young Award winner. You want to say, what if he scuffles in September? Why is he going to scuffle in September? He has pitched phenomenally the whole year. He's had a couple of bad starts against the Indians, yes, and I know that's a problem. But he's dominating teams every time he goes out on the mound. I mean, it's kind of like, I've heard this comparison. You compare him to Pedro Martinez, who was phenomenal pitcher. He's in the Hall of Fame, pitched for the Red Sox and the Montreal Expos back when they were still a team. And the comparisons between Chris Sale and Pedro Martinez are pretty obvious. Both high velocity pitchers, both big strikeout guys. I mean, Chris Sale strikes out 10 batters in his sleep. And so there's been a lot of comparisons between the two. And Chris Sale is just out there breaking records. He was the fastest pitcher to 200 strikeouts in AL history on the season. He broke some other record the other night. I want to say it's the fastest to 1,500 strikeouts in a career. And I mean, you think of all the strikeout pitchers there have been, and Chris Sale is number one. And you want to say, well, maybe he's not the Cy Young this year. Makes me roll my eyes, y'all. Come on. So that's the tea on that, if I may. Chris Sale's a Cy Young. He's gonna do well in the month of September. He's going to lead the Red Sox into the playoffs because the Red Sox are going to take the AL East. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. And if you haven't seen him pitch before, tonight is the night, y'all. He is going to be going for the Red Sox in the rubber match. Not the rubber match. In the fourth game of the series tonight on ESPN. It's a Sunday night game. Red Sox versus Yankees. Wow. Because we haven't seen that already 3 times this season. Chris Sale versus Luis Severino is actually the pitching matchup tonight. And I'm really, really excited. So it's on at 5 o'clock on ESPN. I'll be watching. Hope you're watching too, because this is, if you want a measuring stick, here's your measuring stick. This is the game where Chris Sale silences everybody, says, I'm the Cy Young. Here we go. All right. So we are going to turn it back over to some tunes now, and then we will be back with another very exciting segment. All right. Here we go, guys. All right, y'all, we have a very special surprise guest for you. This is Anna from Port Orchard. Anna, you're on.
Hi, Hannah. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm pretty good.
All right.
A little toasty out today.
It is a little toasty out. It's above 90. I know that. I heard a high of 95, so I'm sweating in the booth. So what would you like to talk about?
Hannah, I was wondering what your favorite part about baseball was.
My favorite part about baseball? I really love how it brings people together, and it's something that everyone, even if you're, not necessarily a fan of baseball, everyone can kind of sit down and watch a game and sort of know what's going on. I don't know if you know this, but I do force my friends to watch a lot of baseball with me. So they
Really?
actually they've gotten quite the education for the time they've known
okay.
me.
Very
Yeah,
nice. That's cool.
I love that it brings people together. That's really, it's something special for me.
Yeah, I agree. I would have to say my favorite part is probably the pants.
The baseball pants, that's your favorite.
Yeah, the baseball pants. Yeah, because they make the men look really good. They're very flattering.
They are.
I like it.
I can't disagree with you
Yeah.
there. Do you
Yeah,
have a
well, there you go.
Do you have a favorite baseball player?
I can't name any. Well, I probably could if I thought about it. You know, the radio is very stressful. You know,
It
I'm
is.
blinking. But I have a favorite team. That's the Seattle Mariners.
The Seattle Mariners
True
are
to
your
the
favorite
blue.
team. So I don't know.
This is our year.
So you think this is the Mariners' year?
Yes, I do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you were listening earlier, but
I couldn't.
I did have a little segment on, and I said that it wasn't the Mariners' year.
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Well, you know what?
I don't know if you're true to the blue enough.
Am I not true to the blue? Oh, goodness. I'm going to have to put that down on my resume that Anna from Port Orchard thinks I'm not true to the blue enough.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, not a problem.
Have a great rest of your show.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All
Goodbye.
right. Goodbye. All right, and once again, that was Anna from Port Orchard, and thank you so much for calling. If anyone else listening out there wants to be on the air, you can. That number, once again, is 509-335-2207. So now we're going to go right into our next segment, and I don't know if you guys know this, but I love memes, like internet memes. And actually, Anna from Port Orchard is the person who kind of turned me on to all of the great memes out there and the meme culture that exists. So there's a great meme that's kind of circulating the internet right now. It's called, "What Are Y'all Mad About?" And it's kind of just a lady kind of lounging back in her chair and her hand is out. And she's just like, what are y'all mad about today? So that's our next segment. What are y'all mad about? And I am mad today about something that took place on Thursday night. Red Sox are playing the Yankees. As you know, they're in a 4-game series right now. And the pitcher for the Yankees on Thursday night was CC Sabathia. Now, CC Sabathia, he's been around for quite a while. He was a Cy Young pitcher back in the day. And, he pitched really well for the Indians for a lot of years. And now he's with the Yankees. And he took issue with the fact that one of the Red Sox hitters, his name was Eduardo Nunez, who the Red Sox just acquired right before the trade deadline, which is the last week in July. And Eduardo Nunez has been doing really well for the Red Sox. He has 8 home runs so far. He's been a really great substitute for Dustin Pedroia, who's the Red Sox second baseman, who's been out with some knee problems. So Eduardo Nunez was able to slide in there at second base and really do a good job and keep this team 4.5 games up in the AL East. Now, Eduardo Nunez came to the plate in the first inning there, and Eduardo Nunez, let me give you his numbers just for some context here. In 108 games this season, Eduardo Nunez has 137 hits, with 32 of which are doubles, 12 home runs, 21 stolen bases, and is hitting .309, which are, great numbers. But the thing that jumps out at you there is it's the hits and then the home run numbers there. Eduardo Nunez, not a big home run guy. 12 home runs is great. I'll take that from any non-home run guy any day. But it's the hits. He's there to get the hits, get the doubles, steal bases, get on base, get in, get on, get over, and get in. There we go. So Eduardo Nunez comes to the plate in the first inning in the Bronx on Thursday night, and he tries to lay down a bunt. Now, bunting, people have their opinions on bunting, and that's fine. Some people think, it's this lost art and it should be brought back to baseball, and you need to know how to bunt and you need to know how to sacrifice, especially late in games. And some people are not a fan because you're essentially just giving the other team an out, which is true a lot of times, unless there's an error on the play or something, unless it's a really, really good bunt. It's essentially an out. And so Eduardo Nunez lays down this bunt, and CC Sabathia, who is not the most nimble of players, he has had some knee issues there. He goes to get it, and he makes this wild errant throw, and it goes down as an error, and Eduardo Nunez is on base. He wouldn't come in to score, I don't believe, but he did get on base. And so after the game, CC Sabathia did have some comments. He said that wait for it. He said that Eduardo Nunez was weak for bunting on him, and that the Red Sox are scared of him, and that's why they bunted, because they felt they couldn't get a hit off of him. And let's sit on that for a minute. Let's give you CC Sabathia's numbers. CC Sabathia has 11 wins on the year, a 3.71 ERA in 22 games. He's pitched 121 and 1/3 innings, and he has a whip of 1.27. Those are fine numbers. They're not Chris Sale's numbers. They're not Corey Kluber's numbers. But, they're fine. You'll take it. To say that the Red Sox, who are in first place over the Yankees, are scared of you and they're weak for bunting on you, it makes me roll my eyes. Like, come on. Like, you're going to get mad at a guy for this wasn't the 8th inning, and CC Sabathia had a no-hitter going, and Eduardo Nunez is trying to, break up the no-hitter and lay down a bunt. This is the first inning. This is the first inning of an important series. This is a 4-game series. This is the last time the Red Sox and the Yankees play each other all year. Eduardo Nunez is trying to get on base. He's trying to manufacture runs any way he can. And CC Sabathia is going to get mad about that? Like, come on. And then CC Sabathia was like, after the game, he was like, oh, I'd get mad at anybody for doing it. If my son did that in Little League, I'd yell at him. So he has a problem with bunting now? I don't know. And then he was like, oh, they're trying to take advantage of the fact that my knee is bad. And Eduardo Nunez said smartly, if he has a knee problem, he needs to go back on the DL, which sounds pretty reasonable to me. But that's my thoughts on that. If you've got some thoughts on this whole bunt gate, as they're calling it, because apparently every scandal or every confrontation has to be a gate, give me a call. That number is 509-335-2207. All right, now we're going to go back to some more tunes. The next song I'm going to play is, I love this song. It's called 20-10 Tennessee. Even though I'm not a football fan, it makes me think of baseball because of the lyrics. And so it's by Tucker Beathard, and let me know what you think of it. So here we go. Let's update you on some scores around the Major League Baseball today. So the Phillies and the Marlins are still tied in the bottom of the 11th at 1 apiece. The Indians have won 11 in a row, folks. I believe they have the best record. They've overtaken the Astros, and they've got the best record in the American League as they top the Tigers today 11-1. Kind of fitting that was their 11th win in a row. The Blue Jays and the Orioles are also tied. They are heading to extras at 4 apiece. Pirates top the Reds 3-1. Astros did beat the Mets Astros are still going against the Mets. They are up 7-6 at the top of the 7th. Twins are up on the Royals 4-3. White Sox are up on the Rays 6-1. Brewers are beating the Nationals 5-0. Angels and the Rangers are knotted at 2 in the top of the 4th. Braves are up on the Cubs 3-1, and the Mariners, they're winning, y'all. It's only the bottom of the 1st, but they are up 2-0 on the Athletics. They are at home today at Safeco. So now that we're talking about the Mariners, let's bring it back to that AL wildcard that I talked about earlier in the show. And let's count here. So the Yankees, they are in control of that first wild card spot. And then Minnesota is right on their heels. They have the second wild card spot. And then looking down the list, the Angels are a game and a half back. Baltimore is 2.5 games back. Seattle 3.5 back. And then Tampa Bay and Texas are both 4 back. And Kansas City is 4.5 back. Deep breath. That's a lot of teams who are all in contention of that second wild card spot. And it's been like that all year. And really, you look at those teams, and those are a lot of teams at 500, barely above 500, or under 500. 3 of the teams there are under 500. Kansas City, Texas, Tampa Bay. So when you think about that being right around 500, that doesn't really equate in a lot of people's minds to being a good playoff team. You got a lot of mediocrity there. So what the talk around baseball has been is that the team that is going to get that second wildcard spot is going to be a team that is really mediocre. It's a team that's going to get hot at the end of September, and that's going to be the team who will play probably the Yankees in that one-game wildcard spot. So I think it's very interesting there. I honestly have no idea who of those teams is going to take it. I do like Minnesota, but they kind of gave up on themselves about a month ago. They acquired Jaime Garcia from the Braves, and then they turned around and flipped him over to the Yankees. So that was kind of signaling to me that they were waving the white flag, but now they're leading in that second wildcard spot by a game and a half over the Angels. But the Angels have also been making some noise this week. They acquired Justin Upton from the Tigers, and they acquired Brandon Phillips from the Braves. So they're looking to bolster that offense. The pitching is still a big question for me, but they're obviously trying to say, hey, we're here. We're a game and a half back. We got, 30 or so games left to play. We are going to try and go for that spot as well. And then Baltimore's been hot recently, but I think they'll cool off and fade back. Seattle, go Mariners. Tampa Bay, Texas, Kansas City. I just don't see it happening. They're all under 500. And they all have their different problems. Tampa Bay, either they can't score runs or they're scoring a bunch of runs because they have a lot of home run hitters on that team. Texas, they don't have any pitching. They obviously traded Yu Darvish away to the Dodgers, but right at the trade deadline there. And then Kansas City, pitching has been a problem for them all year. They just went 46 innings without scoring a run, which almost broke a major league record. So right now, for me, it's between the Twins and the Angels to see who lands that final wild card spot there. So it'll definitely be interesting, and I'm really excited to be keeping an eye on that as we head towards October and towards the end of the season. So we'll definitely be talking about that again next week. If you have any thoughts on that, give me a call, 509-335-2207. And if you want to be a DJ on KZUU, we're always looking for interested students and members of the community. If you have a passion for non-commercial music and want to share it with the Palouse, send an email to kzuu.wsu.edu or stop by the studio on the 3rd floor of the Cub. And as always, don't forget to follow KZUU on social media for updates and station information. We are active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also my station, Turning Two Tunes, is on Twitter and Facebook as well. So just go ahead and log on to your social media accounts and give all of us one big follow there. All right, and now we are going to head back over to our music. I got some really great stuff for you as we're heading into the final 20 minutes of my first show, so